Go. Yeah, I said I came up. Long nights in the hallway. Try and get this money.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the High Passion Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel K., and I'm here with our guest, Jesse Warren.
Wasted Yovth, bitches. Can I swear?
Yeah.
Wasted
absolutely.
Yovth, bitches. Yeah, okay.
Jesse is a contemporary artist that goes by Wasted Yovth, and we're going to talk about the inspiration behind his art, his journey from rapper to visual artist, and his connection to cannabis. Let's get into it.
Dope. All right, let's go. Thank you for. Yeah, he did so good. He was nervous about that. High Passion Podcast. What's happening? Shout out the director.
Yes,
we got a
sir.
director here. It's all professional. So
We're
it's
trying.
looking
We're
good
trying.
here.
So let's talk about you, man. Let's talk about Wasted Yovth. Let's talk about your life. You know, where did it all start for the art for you?
I think going back as long as I can remember, it was just like kind of meant to be for me to be an artist.
Yeah.
You know, my parents, they were artists. My dad was a musician. My whole kind of that side of the family was musicians, and we just lived on the road from a little guy. So
wow.
It was always just music and some sort of, you know, creative arts, fashion, and that just evolved, you know, throughout my life into what it is today, Wasted Yovth, you know, like the actual brand of art and things that I'm doing.
Yeah. Awesome. I know that starting off, like you said, your parents were into music and art as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then you started off getting into music.
Yeah, I started in music. Music was like the first real creative outlet. And it was going back, you know, I ended up moving in with my mom. And she, at the time, lived in this government housing.
Yeah.
So, you know, what's around government housing is just, you know, I don't even have to say it, government housing stuff.
Yes.
But, you know, I was a writer. So my life, it was like I was this rocker kid that was like living this rap lifestyle just because of geographically where I was. And actually, my first thing, I memorized a Method Man song.
Okay.
And I took it out to the block, and I spit it to all the guys because I seen them out rapping, the older guys, right? I'm trying to show off, and I want to get like them.
Make some friends.
And that did really well. They were like, whoa, that was really good. And after that, I started writing my own stuff.
Got you. So moved from like the rock, started putting the hip hop influence of the community.
Yeah, exactly. And then I realized, you know, what I thought, I had kind of a knack. I would start doing these little like freestyle battles and out at these little spaces and doing a 1-2. And then that just turned into me, you know, kind of going full time with music in my younger years. Yeah.
Wow. So when you moved forward out of doing the rap battles and stuff like that, you actually started a career in hip hop.
Yeah, like I was actually making money, and it was gaining a lot of momentum. But that's when I had my son.
Okay.
And the thing is, now this is just my experience, but in the local hip hop scene, I just did that thing you were talking about. Sorry, the director's gonna kill me for hitting that thing. It's just fucking. It was violent, right? At the times I was doing it, and even now, it was violent. And you know, as you're competing with these guys, it's like it's not really like you're competing. Whereas like a podcast is competing with a podcast, because the line between the streets and rap specifically, it's not the same in country or rock music or anything like that. But when you're dealing with rap, the line between the streets and the music is too thin.
It's very, very
it's
thin.
very thin. And I had to ask myself a couple of things that happened at that point. And I just decided, I was like, okay, the whole being a rapper thing, I think I'm gonna chill out on that.
So when you were a rapper, you sent me over the links. What was the song called?
I sent you the Never Slept at Night song.
Yes, Don Connect.
Yeah,
Don Connect.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool. Like, I mean, feel free to check that out, guys. Don Connect. Never Slept
put a
at
link
Night.
right. This is the camera. Put a link right here, right now.
We'll probably
check
intro.
That. No.
We'll probably use it for the intro, actually.
Yeah.
But,
that's cool.
Yeah. Fade in, but it's well done.
Yeah, so that was just kind of my first like hurrah into the creative
field.
Yeah, industry, right?
Yeah. And then while you were doing all that, you, like you said before, you started getting into the fashion a little bit, right?
Yeah, so I would always, with the fashion thing kind of started really naturally, like a long time ago. I always just like to have different clothes than other people. So I would, I remember there was a Jim Jones concert, and you guys probably don't know any of these people, but Stack Bundles was a rapper from Far Rockaway, Queens.
Okay.
And Stack Bundles had just died.
Gotcha.
And I went to this Jim Jones concert like the next day. And that night I had made this like rest in peace Stack Bundles shirt. And I remember people at the club that night, they were like, whoa, how'd you do that so quick? And it's so sick and blah, blah. And I'm like thinking to myself, dude, I just went to Michael's and these are just iron-on letters. But I was like, oh, fuck. It showed me that like, oh, not everyone does it.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's just natural. Like, I'm sure to you, things you do every day. It's like, oh, how do you do this? Or how do you write a song? And it's like, I don't know. It's just like super natural for me to do it. So
Absolutely.
I don't know if that was even the question. Or,
no, it
or
was.
if that
You
was
got
the
that.
answer.
No,
Yeah.
that's perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I know you mentioned before that, the line between the hip hop and the streets is a little too thin. And that's part of the reason why, you decided to step out of music.
Right.
How was that, quitting something that you were passionate about and moving on to, behind the scenes and creating for other people?
That's actually a really good question, because I had put a lot into it.
Yeah.
Like I was all in with my music for many, many years. And, it was a pretty easy thing when I don't want to bring it up again, but when I had my son,
Yeah.
it was pretty easy, because it was like, am I going to honestly like be putting my life in danger trying to do this? And like, this could possibly be a reason my son doesn't have a father. Like, It's a reality.
No, it is.
And so I left it behind. But it never got really left behind, like I left it behind, but I kind of equate it to when I look back over my whole creative period, like my whole creative periods, it kind of comes in waves. I'll be creative and sometimes it goes and I get, and over those years though, I've really tried everything. So I feel confident in where I'm headed now. But I think what I was trying to say was, it was very tough to give it up, but it was just another down. It was just another chill thing because, it was always there. Everything that I had accomplished and learned, it was all there. And that's when I was approached by a friend of mine that I grew up with.
Got you.
And he was running a label in Toronto called Block Trade Records.
Okay.
And they had an artist and they wanted me to come in as a road manager.
Oh.
They were like, we know you have expertise in music industry and you've done all this stuff as an artist. How do you feel about this? And I was like, I'd fucking love to do it. Yeah. Because it was perfect timing. And it was like, hey, this is just like the and that's why it's so important. Like, if it doesn't feel right, just follow. It's gonna sound corny. Follow your heart.
Listen,
man.
Corny stuff's corny for a reason, man.
You follow, because then that created another beautiful chapter. Oh, fucking thing. I will not do that again. That's 3. 1, 2, 3 strikes you out. Okay. And then and that was great because I was able to take everything that I learned and apply it to someone else. So it was cool to have that expertise, because now it's like when you're in the room, it's like, man, I can talk about anything in the music industry. Like, I know all about it.
And you're not just talking shit.
And I'm not just talking out of my ass, right?
You did this.
So this is where, my value came from that part of the industry.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And then from Block Trade, there's a lot of great artists at Block Trade. And if you guys never heard of them, Block Trade Records, they're out of Toronto. They've got a lot of great producers.
Still running?
Yeah, they're still running. Rochester is one of them. He's a Toronto legend.
Awesome.
Rochester, aka Juice. And they've got a whole roster of artists and producers and stuff that they do.
Fucking shout out those guys.
Yeah, and so after that, I started with management in the Young Tory camp with Young Tory and Kevin Rowley.
Oh, wow.
Now, those guys, I don't know if you heard of them, but they were, this was going back 2018, 2019. And that was the first time I really seen any sort of like real behind the scenes music stuff. Like, I remember this one concert he did, and it was just like, you should have seen the crowd. It was like, you never seen a star. It was like a star. And I was blessed enough to be able to be on the team and see it happening from back. And like after the thing, like we were getting in the car and there's like girls slamming on the windows, and it was like really cool to see.
Yeah.
Right. And it was really cool to see him, you know, sign his deal. He signed a big deal at that time with, I don't want to put it's all public knowledge. So he signed with Def Jam.
Yeah.
And it was just an amazing thing to see. But what happened there was, man, the music industry, like you see these gray hairs. It's so late. It's so late, man.
Yeah.
It's always, and it was just wearing on me. And I was like, what am I really doing? Like, I'm staying out until 3, 4, and then I'm sleeping all day. And it's like, it wasn't the healthiest lifestyle for me.
Yeah. And especially, like you said, having the kid and wanting to spend time with the family,
exactly. And during this time, Wasted Youth, I did start all throughout those periods of rap and starting behind the scenes and more behind the scenes.
Yeah.
It was slowly gearing up. You know, I started making like custom jackets and, you know, little custom shoes and different things. But I hadn't really started into like canvas art, like making art pieces.
That was like your, you know, more your fashion phase. I saw you have that story on your Instagram of all the jackets that you did and all the clothing. Yeah. It's a cool aesthetic, man.
Yeah. And that was like that was like a collection, actually, because I never wanted to just do something like, oh, I want to put out like a t-shirt or thing. So that was a collection of 7 pieces. It was released on the 7th month at the 7th hour. I had a pop-up shop on like the 7th day, and it was
lots
beautiful.
of thought into it.
Yeah, it was a lot of thought into it. And it was gaining momentum, but I didn't really feel 100% comfortable with the direction it was going, because it was like, I'm doing fashion, and this was just all me, my own thoughts. You know, it's like I'm doing fashion and I'm doing art and I'm doing music, and it's like, it's a lot, because here's what I've learned, you know, is okay. So when I'm managing an artist, I don't want them fucking trying to be a professional golfer, trying to be a fucking artist, also wants to record himself and make his own fucking beats. Yeah. Like and this is just my experience, I want that artist just make the fucking art. Yeah. The manager, I'm there to make sure there's the studio, make sure you got everything you need, make sure your producers are there, make sure so you can just go and make art
and do what you're
best at. Yeah. And I feel like that's what makes a good manager, right? Is someone that can see the talents and values in your team and the people around you, and, you know, be an adult enough to be like, let's go and take it to the next level. I think I'm rambling on.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. Like that, I completely agree with what you're saying there, though. Like, and even for what I'm doing here, right? Like, it's all about the team that you build. You can't be everything. You can't do everything. And especially in something like art or music, like, you're going to find things that you're better at.
Right. Oh, that's why I brought that up. So that's why as of 2024, I was like, okay, what I love the most is creating art.
Got you.
So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to focus on it.
Started to shift that focus.
I love to, and I still have a full music studio at my house. I still do make little. It's 4. I'm not.
It's okay. It's
that's part of the interview now.
That's it.
Part of the
cool.
Now.
It's cool.
But I just decided like I'm going to focus on being an artist and making art and putting it into the world.
Yeah. And I've seen like on your page, you work with all different mediums, not just canvas, and the art that you do, man, the message behind it is so clear. And
beautiful.
It's so well done, in my opinion.
Thank you.
I'm not a huge art, like I've never gotten into art like that, but looking through your page, the vibe, it just, you know,
that's cool.
It fits the world that we're in.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
that's what's really cool. Not that you're a total stranger, we've met and this is a first time meeting, but
Yeah.
it's always nice because obviously like your mom and people are going to be like, "Oh, you're doing great. It's fucking awesome."
Of course.
But it's different when it's coming from a stranger.
Yeah.
Like, hey, like I reached out I was like, "Man, I love to do your podcast.
Yeah.
Like I see what you're doing." That's different for me. So it's always beautiful to hear like how, and the way I interpret my art, it's always nice to hear how it's viewed from
another
the world, right?
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Yeah, awesome.
Obviously people are going to view it differently as well for themselves, but like
Right.
you said, it just speaks for itself, man.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So with Wasted Youth now going forward as a contemporary artist, you know, moving from the fashion, you started getting into galleries. How did that even happen? Like I know, and it's really wild because it's really all happened in this year. It's all happened in 2024. Sorry, just gonna spark this joint
go
real
ahead.
quickly.
Yeah, so my first few shows were actually at a place called the Show Gallery on Queen West and Ossington.
Okay.
And how I got in there was we were just walking by, and I walked in and I was checking out the art, and I met a beautiful gentleman by the name of Lev.
Yeah.
Lev, if you're listening, beautiful guy, great guy. And he checked out my stuff, and I was like, man, I'd love to have a show here.
Yeah.
And it was that easy.
Wow.
He checked it out, and I booked it for like, it was maybe 2 months after that.
Yeah.
And that was my first like gallery show.
Yeah.
And at that time, I didn't even have enough art. So I had to use jackets on the one wall, and then I had a few art pieces. And I had one sale that week.
Yeah.
And it was my first art sale, not my first one, but like my first one out of a gallery.
Got you.
And it was a guy walking down the street, and he was walking, and then I saw him because I'm sitting there doing fuck all.
Yeah.
Right. I'm walking, he goes and boom, and stops and comes back.
Oh.
And he walks in and walks, and he's like, "How much do you want for that?" And I was like, I don't know, like $300. And he's like, "I'll take it."
Just like that.
That easy.
Wow.
And I was like, fuck.
That
and
must
then
have been a
and
good
what else
feeling.
was really cool at that time? So he's like, "I'll take it," blah blah blah. And he's like, because it said "Die Famous" on it, and it was like a black with white and white with black, and it was just like contrasted. And he was like, "What's the painting behind it?" Because it was just on like a landscape, an old landscape, and I just fucking blacked it over. And did your work over it. And he was like, "What's under there?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't even know." It was like a no-name painting. And he's like, "Oh, what if it's thing?" And he was interpreting my art.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, like for me, it was like, it wasn't even, I liked the "Die Famous" quote, and I wanted to do a black and white fucking thing. I didn't even think, and this guy was so deep for him, and he bought it.
Yeah.
Shout out that fucking guy. I don't know. I don't even know where he went.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that's kind of cool how like your art will go into the world. And I think about that a lot because in 2024 now I've sold, I don't want to say sell it, because like if someone gets my art, it's like, it's a connection. I don't care if it sounds corny.
Yeah.
But to think that like, those pieces are going to be with someone like,
For sure.
if you're going to spend multiple hundreds of dollars on a piece of art, you're going to fucking take it with you for a while.
Absolutely.
Like it's going to be with you for a while.
It's
You
gonna
might
move
even
house to house with you.
house to house. It might even be something that gets passed down to a kid. Like who fucking knows, right?
Literally.
So I think that's just like the most mind-blowing thing about being an artist. Like that's the coolest. And shit like this. Like I had a show, and this lady came up, and she was with her son, and she just sat there and talked about every piece I had, and talked about what I used and what she thought. And I was like, this is so fucking great.
Yeah.
Like, this is so great. Like, and when people say, like, when I say shit, like, it's not about the money, and people are like, everything's about the money. Like, obviously money's good. But when it comes from a creative place, and, my friend David that I did a podcast with from the Rocky Talkie podcast.
Yes.
I told you I was going to use that camera a lot. He said, he was like, is it weird selling your art? Because how do you put a price on love?
Yeah.
Like, how do you put a monetary
On your
value
passion.
on these feelings and emotions? And I think that's just my favorite thing that I'm getting out of art is just like the fucking beauty in it.
Yeah.
And the beauty in the art, you know? Like and sorry if I'm rambling. This
No.
one little story, because one of the people that bought one of my pieces, now I'm working with her to build this like one of a kind resume that she's gonna, and it's just like, this is the first commission I've ever taken on, but it's like, this isn't just a project and art. Like I want it to be so special.
Yeah.
Like I want this piece to, when she gives it to the professor, whatever the fuck it is, however it works, you know, I want it to be like something special. So I think that's the greatest part, you know, about art and everything that's going on.
Awesome to hear, man. Like the passion just coming off you, you know what I mean? Like you could tell that you truly love it.
Yeah.
And I know like a lot of people, I say it all the time too, you know, it's not for the money. And like people will say that that's corny, but at the end of the day, you know, if we can make money off of it, great. You know, I'd love to do what I love and get paid for it, but we're still going to do it otherwise.
That's right.
You know, even if you weren't getting paid for it, you'd still create art.
Of course.
And I can see that,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's awesome. So you got into that first gallery. You're in some galleries in London that you mentioned to me.
Boomer Gallery.
Boomer Gallery.
So Boomer Gallery has these amazing shows. They're doing like such an amazing job. The curator there, he has this show. It's called What is Art?
Okay.
So I was lucky enough to be in that show in London.
Nice.
There's a couple things, and actually Germany coming up in October. My good friend Aaron.
Okay.
Oh my God, what is his page? Interior Art. So we'll put a link because he's an amazing guy. And he's having his first art show in Germany in October. Wow. So I'm going to be flying out, and he's got this big space. So I'm going to go a week early and just like create the work for the show. So I'm fucking like
awesome.
So excited for that.
How could you not be?
Yeah. I'm like really excited about that.
That's an experience and a half.
Yeah, that's going to be really cool. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm putting this in the universe. Rob Roy, if you're listening, I want you there with me.
There you go. There you go.
You know what? Because it's like Rob's such a great artist. You know, Rob Roy, he's such a great artist. I don't know if he would ever do a podcast, but if he did, and we were chatting, I was like, man, how cool would it be to just both piss off and go to Germany, stay in this fucking old barn in Germany and just like paint all week before the show. Like, what a fucking experience. So
100%.
I'm just putting that in the universe again. Just sprinkle that out there a little bit.
Manifest it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so other than that, what do you have coming up?
So I've got the Pancakes and Booze is a pop-up art show that was started in LA. And they do a lot of stuff through the States. And they're coming to Toronto July 26th. I don't know if this will be out, so if this might be irrelevant. Yeah, I'll be at the Pancakes and Booze art show.
Awesome.
And these are little like night markets and stuff, and that I'm just trying to do. And it's funny, I had a talk with an acquaintance in the art world, and I was like, you know, like I don't know if doing shows like this is gonna hurt my brand, you know. I was like, and not to compare myself, but I was like, would Basquiat do these fucking night? And he was like, Basquiat would for sure do it. Yeah. And I was like, okay, fuck it, I'll do it then. Yeah. But it's just like, you want to be careful of your brand.
Of course.
Right? It's like
an image that you have to protect.
It's an image, and it's like, I don't want to be everywhere, but I want to be out enough that people see it. Yeah. Right? Yep. But you don't want to be everywhere. But I think this Pancakes and Booze, shout out Pancakes and Booze. We'll put their link, and that's going to be a good show. Yeah. And I don't think it costs anything to get in, or it might. Don't quote me on it. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we got Pancakes and Booze. It is a ticketed event, $16, not $60. Okay, so that's that. And that's going to be fucking phenomenal because there's a lot of cool artists, and it started in LA. Like, it's all about getting your art out to the people. And this is great. This guy's got a whole list here. This is fucking fantastic. This list, right? Yeah, and then so Raw Artists, they've got another at the Parkdale Hall the end of September. Yep, September 26th and 27th. Yeah, so I'll be there. I'll be actually I'll have brand new work.
Oh, yeah.
So what I like to do at these shows is bring brand new stuff that no one has seen on Instagram, that's never been anywhere, just because then it's like, what the fuck am I going
Then it's
for?
new.
Like,
Yeah.
it's brand new, right?
Well,
like
if
I
they
got,
wanted the stuff on Instagram, they could ask.
yeah, exactly. So I'll have brand new stuff for that. And then in Montreal, Raw Artists, because they're another Canadian Raw artist, Michelle and her partner, I forget his name, I'm so sorry, but they are great, and they do, they go all around Canada, Ottawa and Montreal. So
Awesome.
I'll be doing the Montreal show in October.
Perfect.
So I know there's a lot going on. So
Yeah, that's
keep
awesome.
posted on the Instagrams.
Fuck
keep
yeah.
up to date. And I always love to throw like little impromptu like street galleries that,
Oh, cool.
shit like that. I'm always trying to do something out there and put the message
current,
out
stay
there,
out there.
Yeah, exactly.
100%,
Exactly.
100%. Let's talk a little bit about cannabis.
Okay.
man.
All right. High Passion Podcast.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
go.
That's what we're here. We're
All right.
promoting passionate and productive people.
Yeah, that's
fight the
it.
stigma. No lazy stoners around here.
Yeah. Hey, shit. Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
You know what? I'll fire up then. I knew I was going to do this.
That's awesome.
Because you're right.
Yeah. Well, we smoke to, because we want to, and we might, I do it medically. But I also enjoy it for recreational purposes.
You know what? I've always fucking loved to smoke weed.
Yeah. There you go.
I just have, I've always, I started smoking weed when I was younger.
I was just gonna ask, when did you start?
Yeah.
When did you start smoking? What was your introduction?
I remember watching my parents would go down into the basement. And I would be like, obviously a nosy ass kid.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are they doing down there? And so I'd go look, and I saw them putting something in this fucking old like container or something. So obviously I'm hanging out with the older crowd because I'm a fucking asshole kid at that point.
Yeah.
And so like I remember he had all the roaches. So I like took a ton of roaches, and me and this guy, kid Damien, we went and fucking sat up in the rafters at the pool, at the local like pool. And I remember fucking just being fried, and then him on the big like fucking watching him up on the fucking big thing. He's like doing these flips and shit. And I was just like, I want to feel like this for the rest of my life. No. You know what? It can get it. Drugs are bad.
Yes.
Okay.
Agreed.
Okay. But marijuana and cannabis, I think, is just a fucking beautiful thing. Yeah.
I agree. And I always say, like, it's not for everybody.
Right.
I'm not an advocate for cannabis. But I think that everybody, like, that it helps people when they need it,
Yeah, and see, you know what? And I was always like, sorry, I cut you off there.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
And yeah, I don't know what it is with I don't know what it always was with the weed.
Yeah.
For me.
Just
I think
liked it.
Yeah, I liked it, and then you know what? And it was like the first because I didn't have money. Like let's go back now to this. Like this, is there statute of limitations about talking about this shit?
Yeah, I think you're good.
Oh, fuck. Well, I won't. There's nothing to really talk about anyways. But just going back to those times when I was living in the government housing.
Yeah.
Right? And it was looking up to these older guys. And I remember I was waiting one day for the food bank truck.
Okay.
It came on Thursdays. And I was waiting for the food bank truck. And I was how old was I? So I would have been in grade 10.
Okay.
And he was like, no, come see me after. And I went there, and he gave me a bag with the scale and a little list of what I charged for how much on the numbers. And he was like, bring that back when you're done. And fucking that was it, buddy.
That was it.
From then, I remember, boom, I think I made like what, maybe $30 off that little bag or whatever
that's
fuck
a lot
he
of
gave
money
me.
for you back then,
I
though,
remember,
for
whoa,
sure.
I was like a 20 and a 10, like crispy, no fucking.
Yeah, and it's yours.
And that was it. And so I was always like this because at that time I had smoked weed. Like I said, I had smoking weed forever. And here's what I always encountered. I hated dealing with the dealers. You always got ripped off.
Yeah.
You always got one soaking wet bud in the middle of all your weed. You always got said it was one thing and never was. It was always like late as fuck. Like, I'll be here in 5. So I was like, I'm gonna get the best weed that I can and sell it at the cheapest price that I can.
Yeah.
I'm always gonna be on time, and I'm not gonna fuck anyone over.
And take over a market.
And it did.
Yeah.
And I remember.
Do you know what type of bud you were dealing with back then?
Oh,
like
China
back
bud.
then compared.
Do you remember China bud? How old are you? How old are you?
Yeah. I'm 28, turning 28.
Okay, so you're old enough to remember.
Yes. I've seen lots of China bud.
Yes, okay. So this is going back like what? Okay, I'm 40. Sorry, I'm old as fuck. Whatever. But this is going back like 20 years for me, right? So yeah, it was like the China bud because you could get you could get it cheap.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And it looked really good. It was just so bunk. And you know what? Sometimes I still to this day, I was talking with my one buddy and I sold him probably over the years he smoked a pound of that fucking China bud in half quarters from me.
For sure.
And I was thinking like, you just bought all that shit.
Yeah.
But anyways.
We didn't know back then. I mean, at least I didn't know back then. I didn't get educated on cannabis.
So
it was
good.
just it
looked so good.
Yeah. But once you learned, it was like, oh shit.
Yeah. And then I met a guy that lived out in the country and he just had fucking bushels of it.
There you go.
And that's when
things started getting a bit better
for me. Yeah, of course. That's when, and you know what? And it's weird because that's like the foundation that built the credibility for rap. It's all bullshit.
Yeah,
let me say that this is just the story.
Yeah.
I'm not fucking condoning it. It's actually bullshit. What I would say is stay the fucking school and stay the fuck away from all this shit.
Agreed.
And keep your fucking mind clear and talk about your problems and emotions and feelings.
Yeah.
But that's not my story.
Exactly.
It's my story now.
Yeah.
Right? So, and I remember, boom, and that's it. All the guys that were, because all the guys that are buying bigger amounts, and then I got into that game until it got too hot.
Yeah.
I remember when I quit. This is going back many, many years, but I remember when I quit, a cop had pulled me over, and and I never traveled with anything. I knew they were fucking on my ass. And before nothing, he's like, you're under arrest for suspicion of possession of marijuana. And I was like, I don't have any. Cuffed me, boom. And he was looking, he was like, I remember he tore my car apart and he was like, if I would have fucking found a flake, you were fucking going to jail. I remember he like stared in my eyes for like what felt like an eternity before he undid the cuffs. And right then I was like, that's it. I'm done.
Yeah.
Because like I lucked out. Like I lucked out.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
I lucked out and I didn't fucking get big jail time. And I never sold anything worse than that.
Yeah.
I always thought, and this, whether this be like some fucked up mind state or not, I always thought like weed's not going to fuck someone's life up. I'm not going to sell someone a bag of weed and they're going to fucking go and have to, like, if it's harder drugs or even fucking alcohol. Fuck you, LCBO,
Absolutely.
all these people. Man, you're league last drug deal. Anyways,
but
I didn't have weed was never, it's like, man, I love smoking weed. Everyone I grew up with, all the old farts and hippies, everyone just smoked weed and everyone just smoked weed and chilled out and loved one another. That's what I was raised on. The world isn't like that now.
Yeah.
But that's the core of my beliefs, right? And that it aligns with cannabis for me.
Yeah.
Right? It aligned with it and I enjoyed selling it and I've always enjoyed smoking it. And then, so then I quit for many, many, many years, and then Kush hit the market.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? I'm that old.
I vaguely remember.
I remember because it was around the game for this long.
Yeah.
Kush wasn't a thing. Back in the day, if you got AAA, that's what they called it. AAA was like, oh, if you've got AAA, that's like the best weed. And it wasn't like this fucking crazy ass weed that we will talk about because that shit is wild as fuck, actually. And then Kush hit the market.
Yeah.
And I remember that. Like, and then it was
times.
it was like you couldn't fucking sell nothing unless it was Kush.
And it's basically like that now, except it's pinks.
Yeah, right. Right.
And it kind of took over the market.
Kush did.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And then, so you know what? Fuck. So this is still 15 years ago. 16 years ago.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck it, I'm getting back in the game. Right? So I got a little kush. I did the little kush thing for a few months until, no, fucking liar, a few months. No, I did it until the fucking, those first batches of.
Oh, the dispensaries.
Yeah. They fucked up the game.
Yeah, for sure.
They fucked up the game.
Completely.
Because once those opened, then, because it wasn't this government regulated shit at first. It was like, okay, now you got, here was the fucking kicker. You would like have a 2 or 3 kinds, right?
Yeah.
But you fucking go to the dispensary, they got fucking 20 different kushes and sativas. You just couldn't compete.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was the end of that game for me. And since then, it's just been
consuming.
Yeah, and you know what? With the weed, actually, I quit for many years throughout those times, just for other fucking reasons.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, I don't need to be smoking weed, but it's always just fucking come back to me.
Yeah, like it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's a great thing for the people that use it the right way, you know, or however they like to use it, you know.
And I'm sure there's like conversation on each side about if it's good or bad.
Well, we all know inhaling any smoke isn't good for you. There's no debating that.
I don't think that. I think like more like large economically scaled.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
you know,
that's a good question.
I guess that's for another podcast.
Yeah.
That's for the Dark Series podcast, High Passion Dark Series podcast.
There you go. Okay. Well, I think that's about it.
Let's make it real awkward out too. Let's I think that's about it.
And then
just like go like this, like fuck, and then like get like really think too, like, ooh, did I cover everything? Shit. Because you know what I fucking do? I'll go home and I'll listen. I'll be like, dude, you didn't even fucking talk about all this.
Yeah, it always happens,
yeah,
you know? But that's part of it, you know? If there's... Fuck.
We're gonna try to. Let's talk to the camera. Let's both. Can he talk to a camera too? Then
yeah,
we can pan it.
I have one.
You
here.
have yours?
Yeah.
Okay, look at it. We're gonna try to make a really cool commercial, or we might not. It might just drop. But if we can, we're gonna do something cool. So check out Wasted Yovth right now. Just go to the Instagram _ Wasted Yovth with a V. Yeah. I'm building the website. I'm doing it myself because I tried a couple people, and I'm like, you're just not getting the vision.
Yeah.
Because I'm a pain in the ass, right?
Makes sense.
So I'm just fucking doing it myself, and I'm getting there. I'm really liking it. Super simple. So that'll be wastedyouth.com.
Okay.
And make sure you definitely check out High Passion Podcast. Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast.
It's awesome.
What I like most is how professional you were.
Thank you.
You sent me the Miller note. We went over the questions. You have it up. You have your cameras and your light and your director. He was very professional.
Shout out, Sean.
And you know what? I've been in the industry for a long time, and that's what's going to set you apart.
Thank you.
So keep doing that, and proud of you guys. And,
thank you.
We're out of here.
Man, that's awesome. To everyone watching, if you enjoy what we're doing, make sure to like, follow, and share on YouTube at High Passion Pod and on Instagram at High Passion Podcast. If you want to keep up with our guest today, drop him a follow on Instagram at _ Wasted Yovth with a V, or check him out at the Raw Artist Expo at Parkdale Hall, September 27th and 28th.
I want to give a big shout out to Sean Sweeney at Sean CS10 for everything you do for the podcast, and to all the viewers. I hope you tune in next time. Until then, stay positive, stay passionate, and go fuck yourself.
About to get to you some this wicked lyrical, still messaging the physical, cause things are getting critical. Try and just get rid of you, and we falling for the traps put in front of you. I know, seems so far.